Are you ready to step into a world of vibrant creativity and learn the secret to making modern kawaii pop art? In today's video, we're going to learn how to use the mysterious and often overlooked layer property palette to make this bright and cheerful Japanese convenience store themed pop art piece. Let's jump into it. I'm sure you've seen a lot of famous pop art from Andy Warhol, Roy Lichtenstein, and Keith Haring, but did you know this classic art style is making a big comeback with a kawaii twist? Yoshitomo Nara and Takashi Murakami are considered pioneers of this style and have paved the way for vibrant, playful art that celebrates Japanese pop culture, anime, and manga. Let's see how we can follow in their footsteps by creatively using different layer effects in Clip Studio Paint. Here in Clip Studio Paint, we need to get familiar with the layer property palette. This is going to be our secret weapon for recreating a lot of the graphic elements in pop art. You can find the layer property palette above the layer palette when using studio mode on your computer or tablet. If you're on simple mode in version 2, you'll need to switch back to studio mode to access these features. And then if you can't find the layer property palette, go up to the window drop-down menu, and here under layer, you'll see layer property. Make sure this is checked. Over in the layer property tab, you see that we have different effects we can use, but for this style, we're going to focus on border effect, tone, and layer color. To start our pop art piece, we're going to need a fun, kitschy theme and some bold line art. Going with our kawaii style, I decided to do a schoolgirl, and the idea I had was that maybe she stops at the convenience store after school for some snacks. I love that konbini in Japan have all this amazing food, so I wanted to capture some of the iconic ones. We have instant ramen with an egg salad sandwich, yakitori, and an iced beverage because you're gonna get thirsty, right? And now we're gonna use our first layer effect, which is one you're probably familiar with. If you select layer color from the layer property palette, we can color our sketch layer to help us see better when we're inking our line work. The layer color defaults to the color of a non-photo blue pencil, but we can change this color to anything we like. The layer color will change anything drawn or painted into the layer, and the subcolor will change the background color. Now we just have to do our line art. I like the more delicate line art of shoujo style manga, so I'm going to use that on our character, but I'll contrast it with thicker, more graphic lines on the other elements to keep with our pop art style. And the contrast between the line weight will also help direct the viewer's eye to our character. Now we want to lay in our flat colors. Pop art is all about bright, contrasting colors, so don't be afraid to try things you wouldn't normally do. Pop art uses a technique similar to kanjiante, where you use different contrasting colors to shadow instead of darkening the local color. So practice using a completely different color to shade and contrast, and you'll probably be really pleasantly surprised with the result. The Close and Fill tool is amazing for laying in flat colors quickly. It uses your line art layer set to reference to fill in your line work with no anti-aliasing gaps. If you use multiple line art layers like I do, and forgot to make all of them vector layers like I did, so you can't combine them into one layer, you can put them all in a folder and set the whole folder to reference too. Clip Studio is smart enough to reference all the layers in the folder, so you still get perfect results. For our background, I want to add some other classic pop art elements like geometric shapes, speed lines, and speech bubbles. To block in our geometric shapes, we can use the line tool. Changing the brush shape gives us access to a variety of different line types that we can use for more interest. These dots are very pop art, and I really like these wiggly lines. Experiment with different shape tools and brush shapes to get the perfect look for your piece. You can then set these layers to reference and easily fill in the areas in between using the Close and Fill tool. Now let's make this pop art pop with some layer effects. Even if you've used layer effects before, you may not know that you can combine them to get even more variation. Our character shirt is a nice color, but I think we can make it even more kawaii. If we set this layer's effect to tone and set the dot shape to heart, we can create a cute heart pattern print. But you'll see the standard color of the tone effect is grayscale, and that doesn't really work with our colorful pop art vibe. If we combine this with the layer color effect, we can color the hearts pink and the shirt a nice soft blue. The order of the layer color and subcolor when combined with the tone effect depends on the pattern and blending mode of the layer, so play around to find what works best for your image. We can change the size of the hearts using the frequency slider. Lower numbers give you larger patterns, but you may notice that on large illustrations, the dot pattern may look different zoomed out than when zoomed in. To make sure your pattern's consistent, zoom in on the image and play around with the frequency until you get a size that stays the same whether you're zoomed in or out of the image. Okay, now I want to add some depth to our hair and play around some more with halftone patterns. Here I'm adding shadows to the hair on a layer set to multiply and clipped to our hair's base color. Notice when we activate the tone effect on this layer, the background color of the halftone is transparent and we get a more subtle multiplied effect on our dot pattern. I think this has a fun comic book feel, so now I just want to add a layer color, set to a darker green to incorporate these shadows a little better. And we can't forget the classic hair shine. Using the standard lasso fill tool, we can draw the shape of our highlight with the lasso and it will fill in with our selected color automatically. Now, you may run into an issue, like I did here on our very happy rooster friend, where your halftone pattern is intersecting and you just can't get the right scale for your dots using the frequency slider. The halftone pattern's intensity is also affected by the layer's opacity, so reducing the opacity of the layer will scale all of the dots uniformly, giving you more control over their size. Now that we have a good size for our pattern, let's try something more interesting. Stars? Yeah, that's fun, let's do that. Now this isn't the only way that we can use opacity to control the scale of our halftone pattern. You may know one of the best features in Clip Studio Paint is the ability to paint with transparency, and it was the first program to allow you to do this, turning any brush into an eraser. If we use the soft airbrush and our color set to transparent, we can fade the edges of highlights and also control the scale of our halftone dots. This works the same as lowering the opacity of the layer, but lets us isolate where we want our dots to get smaller. We're almost done, but no pop art masterpiece would be complete without some text. Let's make some lettering for our instant ramen bowl. Using the line tools, I can write out konbini in katakana and easily give it a bold, contrasting outline using the border effect layer effect. I can scale up the width of the line using the edge thickness slider and set the color to something like yellow. You can use the border effect on any layer, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to add outlines to things that would be a lot more difficult to do manually. I've even added it to a flash word bubble in the background. I think we can throw in a daisuki for good measure, and we'll finish it up with a big konbini in case the theme isn't clear enough. Alright, and now our modern kawaii art pop illustration is finished. I hope this has inspired you to give this art style a try and experiment with the features of Clip Studio Paint. A lot of the features of any software can seem intimidating or complicated at first, but with a little creativity, you can find really interesting and new ways to use them. That's it for this Clip Studio Paint tips video. Stay creative and keep creating!